The Galactic Council Hall was supposed to be the safest place in the galaxy. For thousands of years, under its vast, shining silver roof, peace talks had defined the course of history. But today, something was different. A palpable, unfamiliar feeling hung in the air: fear. The reason was simple. Humanity had requested an emergency meeting, and in the long, peaceful history of the Council, when humans called for an emergency meeting, it meant something very, very bad had happened. Representatives from 20 different alien species hovered in their floating chairs, their whispers a nervous chorus. The insectoid Krillok clicked their mandibles anxiously. The tall, elegant, plant-like Solari shifted their glowing leaves, their usual calm completely gone. Even the giant reptilian Garawan, famed across the stars for their unshakable bravery, were avoiding eye contact. Their powerful shoulders slumped in apprehension. Everyone kept glancing at the massive, ornate doors. Humans were late. Humans were never late. Council leader Taryn, a wise, blue-skinned elder known for his serene composure, finally broke the suffocating silence. His voice, usually a comforting resonance, held a slight tremor. "Why are the humans delayed? Does anyone have any information?" No one answered. The silence that followed was colder and heavier than before. Then, without any warning, the lights in the grand hall flickered violently. The entire structure began to vibrate, a low, deep tremor that ran through the floor and up into their very bones. A deep, mechanical hum echoed from just outside the walls, growing louder and more menacing with each passing second. Every delegate, every being in the hall, spun to face the entrance. The great doors, which usually opened with a silent, graceful sweep, groaned and shuddered before sliding apart. A group of 12 human representatives walked in. But this was not the humanity the Council knew. They wore black armor, void of any symbols, flags, or colors, just matte black plates that seemed to drink the light from the room, creating small voids in the otherwise bright hall. Their helmets were off, revealing faces that were completely devoid of emotion. They were silent, their expressions like stone. There were no smiles, no customary greetings, no outstretched hands offering the warmth that humanity was known for. This was something else entirely. They marched as a single, unified entity, their boots striking the polished floor in a slow, heavy, deliberate rhythm. Thud, thud. The sound alone was unnerving, a grim drumbeat that made some of the smaller delegates physically flinch. Council leader Terran struggled to keep his voice steady. "Humans, welcome. Please, take your seats." But the humans didn't move toward their designated area. They stopped, right in the center of the hall, forming a tight protective circle around a small, unassuming metal case. The case was smooth, silver, and seemed to radiate a coldness that had nothing to do with temperature. It looked like a container for something incredibly dangerous. After a long, tense pause that stretched for what felt like an eternity, one of the humans stepped forward. It was Commander Rallis, a man renowned throughout the galaxy for his calm leadership and brilliant strategic mind. But the man standing before them today was a stranger. His eyes, once bright with intelligence and empathy, looked empty, like two dark portals into a cold, desolate void. Rallis placed the metal case gently on the central council table. When he spoke, his voice was low, steady, and colder than the vacuum of deep space. "We did not come for discussion," he said, his words cutting through the nervous murmurs. "We came to deliver a warning." The council erupted. Shocked gasps and worried whispers filled the air. Terran raised his hands, trying to regain control. A warning about what? "Commander, what has happened?" Instead of answering, Rallis simply tapped the surface of the case. It opened with a soft, almost inaudible click. A hologram shot upwards, a pillar of light that was bright, blue, and utterly terrifying. The projection showed a world, a human colony. It was beautiful. Lush green forests, deep blue oceans, and small, peaceful cities nestled in pristine valleys. Then, the image shifted. The same colony was now a ruin. It was burning. Buildings were crushed into rubble. Forests were blackened, wastelands of ash and smoke, and the oceans were choked with debris. And the bodies, there were too many to count, scattered across the scorched ground like fallen leaves. The destruction was absolute, total. A whole world, a whole civilization, had been erased. Gasps of horror echoed through the hall. A Siluri delegate covered her glowing eyes, unable to watch. A Garawan warrior, a veteran of countless conflicts, let out a low, guttural growl of pure shock. Taryn's voice was barely a whisper. "What world is this?" Commander Rallis's voice didn't waver, didn't shake. It remained a frozen monotone. "Eden 4. The hall went still. Eden 4 was one of humanity's most famous and beloved colonies, a jewel of peace and tranquility. It had no weapons, no soldiers, no defenses. It was a world of families, farmers, artists, and children. Taryn's voice trembled with disbelief. But Eden 4, it had no enemies. Who would do this? The humans remained silent. The hologram zoomed in, showing the horrific details. Strange, deep claw marks gouged into reinforced metal walls, burned-out craters from weapons of no known origin, and massive three-toed footprints pressed into the earth, belonging to no species catalogued in the galactic concordance. Then, the hologram showed the final transmission recovered from the planet's comms network. The sound of a child crying, a woman's scream, cut short, a blast of static, and then, silence. The projection shut off, plunging the hall back into its dim, tense light. Every alien in the chamber sat motionless, paralyzed by a mixture of shock, confusion, and a rising tide of dread. Council leader Taryn finally spoke again, his voice soft, almost pleading. "Humans, why bring this to us? What do you want from the council? Do you need our help?" The 12 humans looked at each other, a silent, imperceptible communication passing between them. Then, Commander Rallis, slowly, deliberately, shook his head. "No, we do not want help." A Krillok delegate clicked its mandibles nervously. Then, what is your intent? What do you propose?" Rallis slowly lifted his gaze, sweeping it across the entire assembly, his cold eyes seeming to pierce each and every one of them. His next words were quiet, but they resonated through the hall like a thunderclap. "We are done asking, done waiting, done trusting in those who watch from the sidelines, but do nothing." He took a step closer, his presence commanding the absolute attention of everyone present. "We are here to say only this, no more." The room went so still, you could have heard a pin drop from a parsec away. It was a silence deeper than any had ever experienced in that hall. Taryn swallowed hard, the simple motion audible in the quiet. "No more." "What?" Commander Rallis's jaw tightened, a flicker of something raw and powerful momentarily breaking through his emotionless mask. "No more attacks on our people. No more silence in the face of atrocity. No more weakness disguised as diplomacy. We will find whoever did this, and we will end them." His final words were sharp, heavy, and terrifyingly clear, each one a hammer blow against the fragile peace of the galaxy. Whether the Council stands with us, or watches from the shadows, changes nothing. A collective chill, cold and sharp as ice, crawled through the very being of every alien present. Humans had always been known as brave. They were determined, resilient, and often surprisingly fierce. But this was something different. This was a controlled, calculated rage. This was a promise, delivered not in fire and fury, but in a cold, deadly calm. This was a warning not just to their enemies, but to everyone. The human delegation turned as one. They marched out of the hall without another word, no further discussion, no questions answered, no promises made. The great doors closed behind them with a loud, final, metallic echo that reverberated through the silent chamber. Every alien in that hall watched them leave, a dawning, terrible realization settling in their hearts. Because, for the first time in galactic history, humanity looked ready for war, and they looked ready to fight it all by themselves. The age of peace was over. The age of humanity's wrath had just begun. 3 weeks before that tense council meeting, Eden 4 was alive. It was a bright, peaceful world of green fields, small towns, and quiet oceans. Played in the streets, farmers worked the land, and scientists studied nature. Eden 4 had no soldiers, no weapons, no defenses. It was a place humans built for peace, not for war. On the morning everything changed. The sun rose normally. Birds chirped. A gentle wind moved across the farms. Then, the sky went dark. Not slowly, instantly. A shadow spread over the colony, like a giant hand blocking the sun. People stepped outside and looked up in confusion. A massive shape hovered in the clouds, silent, dark, and unfamiliar. It was not a human ship. It had no signals, no markings, no lights, just size, terrifying size. At the colony's central command, Junior Officer Mira Havel stared at the radar screen, her voice shaking. "Commander, something is above us." something huge. Her commander stepped beside her, eyes widening. Why is there no identification, no signal? Are the scanners broken? Myra checked again, fingers trembling. Scanners are working. It's just, the ship isn't showing anything. It's like it doesn't exist. Before the commander could respond, the lights flickered. The screens turned to static. A deep rumbling vibration shook the entire building. Outside, citizens screamed as the shadow lowered. A blast of wind knocked people off their feet. Without warning, a beam of red light struck the power station. The explosion was so bright and loud that people miles away felt the shockwave. Then the attacks began. Buildings shattered. The ground cracked. Fires spread fast. The sky rained burning metal. People ran for shelter, but every direction was just fire and debris. In the chaos, someone activated the emergency beacon, the signal that would reach the nearest human fleet. But the beacon only sent one message before it went silent. A child's cry. A scream. Static. Then Eden 4 went dark forever. 2 days later, a small human scout ship arrived. These were scouts trained for war, but nothing prepared them for what they saw on Eden 4. The world was dead. The fields were burned black. Houses were crushed and melted. The cities looked like the bones of a giant creature, broken, hollow, silent. Not a single living thing remained, not even animals. The scout team walked through the ruins slowly, their boots sinking into ash. One of them whispered, "What kind of weapon does this?" No one answered. Near the center of the colony, they found claw marks gouged into metal walls, deep, jagged, and unnatural. Too large for any known species, too sharp to be tools. They found strange circular burn patterns across the ground, as if energy weapons had been fired from impossible angles. And the footprints, huge three-toed prints, some the size of human beds, at least 24 different paths, all heading toward the forests. But when the scouts followed, the tracks just stopped, as if whatever made them simply vanished into thin air. Every sign pointed to a predator, but not a normal one. Something intelligent, something fast, something monstrous, something that erased an entire colony in minutes. The strangest discovery came when the scouts reached the communication tower. It wasn't destroyed, it was melted, as if someone had pressed a star's heat directly onto it. The team leader, Captain Lyra, reported back to Earth, her voice hard. This was not an accident. Eden 4 was attacked. Not for resources, not for territory. It was erased, purposefully. Earth Command responded. "Return immediately. Bring everything you found." Lyra hesitated. "Do you think the Council did this?" "No," Earth replied. "But someone is trying to start a war, and they want us to react." Lyra looked again at the destroyed colony. "We will react." When the scouts returned to Earth, humanity held a silent, private meeting. No broadcasting, no public announcement, no calls for investigation, just quiet grief and cold anger. Humanity had suffered attacks before, but Eden 4 was different. It was a message written in fire, ash, and screams. Human leaders analyzed every clue: the melted metal, the massive footprints, the unknown energy signature, the missing survivors, the perfectly erased tracks. Everything pointed to one truth: this was no natural enemy. This was planned, coordinated, executed by someone who understood human weakness. Humanity knew they couldn't trust the Council, not after it ignored so many other incidents in the past. So humans made a decision they hadn't made in centuries. They would seek the enemy alone. They would find whoever attacked Eden 4, and they would not wait for permission. Earth prepared its war fleets quietly. Ships were refitted. New weapons were loaded. Intelligence teams began tracking old rumors about a secret species hiding in the shadows. As Earth's main fleet commander said, "We are not hunting an enemy. We are hunting a ghost in the dark," and in the dark corners of space, the ghost was already watching them. The hunt for the attackers of Eden 4 began in silence. Humanity didn't announce their investigation. They didn't ask for support. They didn't even warn the Council. Instead, they moved like shadows, quiet, focused, and utterly determined. The first clue came from melted metal samples recovered from the colony. Human scientists found a faint energy signature buried deep inside the alloy. It was unstable, almost gone, but it was just enough to trace. After 3 days of non-stop analysis, they discovered something strange. The energy originated from a star system outside known council borders. It was a region labeled on every map with one simple word: unclaimed. No species lived there officially. No colonies, no trade, no communication, just darkness and silence, which could only mean one thing: someone was hiding there. The human fleet dispatched a reconnaissance unit, 3 swift, silent ships designed to gather data without being seen. Captain Aaron Voss led the team. Aaron was known for his calm thinking, sharp instincts, and a unique talent for noticing patterns others missed. As their ship slipped into the unclaimed region, the stars seemed dimmer, and space felt heavier, almost oppressive. The region looked completely dead, but Aaron's instinct screamed otherwise. "Something is here," he whispered to his bridge crew. "Something that doesn't want to be found." His crew scanned the entire area. Nothing. No signals, no heat trails, no ships, just empty space, until a tiny blip appeared on the scanner. A faint, weak energy pulse, almost invisible. "Track it," Aaron ordered, his voice low. The pulse led them to a cold, lifeless moon orbiting a dying star. From a distance, the moon looked completely normal, gray, rocky, and unimportant. But as the ships drew closer, something unusual came into view. A metallic structure was hidden just beneath the surface. At first, the crew thought it was just an old mining station. Then the scanner updated, and their hearts froze. It was not a mining station. It was a fortress, buried under layers of rock, shielded from detection, and built with strange black alloys. The fortress had dozens of openings, all too small for human ships, but perfectly sized for something smaller, faster, and far more aggressive. Aaron whispered, "Someone has been preparing for war here." As they moved closer for a better look, the fortress suddenly came alive. Dozens of small attack craft burst out from the tunnel's dark, insect-like shapes, with sharp wings and glowing red eyes. Aaron recognized them instantly. "Vorthok," he muttered. The Vorthok were known across the galaxy as scavengers and raiders. They attacked weak colonies, stole supplies, and vanished into the darkness. They were dangerous, but they had never been powerful or organized. They had certainly never built anything this advanced. But here they were, in a secret fortress, equipped with energy weapons far stronger than anything they'd ever used before. The Vorthok ships swarmed around the human scouts but didn't fire. Instead, a voice crackled through the comms, low and hissing. "Humans, why have you come?" Aaron kept his voice steady and firm. "Eden 4. Someone destroyed it. We detected your energy signature there." The Vorthok hissed, a sound of genuine confusion. "Eden 4. We do not attack strong worlds. Too risky, too guarded. We prefer easy targets." Eden 4. Not worth the effort. It was the wrong thing to say. Aaron's jaw tightened in fury. Worth the effort. There were families there, children. But the Vorthok only hissed again, completely oblivious to human rage. "You think we did this? Foolish. We are not the hunters. We are the tools." The words hit Aaron like a physical blow. "Tools? Who is using you?" The Vorthok let out a loud, almost fearful hiss. "We speak no names. Some things kill even in the dark." Before Aaron could press for more answers, alarms blared across his ship's bridge. Multiple signals. Something massive was approaching the system. A ship the size of a city and marked black, with strange pulsing rings rotating around it. The energy readings were so high they nearly broke the scanners. The Vorthok ships panicked, scrambling back into their tunnels like terrified insects. Aaron didn't hesitate. Emergency warp. Now. The human ships jumped to faster than light speed, just seconds before the massive vessel arrived. As they escaped, something terrifying happened. The unknown ship fired a single brilliant beam into the moon. The entire fortress exploded, turning into ash, dust, and floating debris. They weren't just covering their trail. They were erasing witnesses. Back in human space, Aaron delivered his report. Command played the recording of the giant ship, the beam, the annihilated fortress. Every officer in the room stared in stunned silence. One general finally broke the silence, his voice grim. "This is not Vorthok technology." Another added, "The Vorthok were hiding something, or someone forced them to." Aaron nodded. "They're working for a bigger power. Someone with technology far beyond anything the Council knows." A senior officer leaned forward. "Whoever that ship belongs to, they're not afraid of the Council, and they wanted Eden 4 gone for a reason." Aaron looked at the hologram frame showing the giant black ship, its rings pulsing like a deadly heartbeat. He whispered the only truth that made any sense. We are not dealing with raiders anymore. We are dealing with architects of war. But far away, in the deep black of unclaimed space, the massive ship slowed. A hidden voice echoed inside its walls. The humans escaped. There will be trouble. Another voice replied, calm and cold. Let them come. Let them search. They are walking straight into the trap we built. And then, the ship vanished back into the dark. Humanity now knew one thing for certain. The Vorthok were not the true enemy. They were just puppets, and someone else was pulling the strings. But who, and why would they destroy an entire human colony? Human command needed answers, and they needed them fast. So they made a dangerous choice to bait the enemy. A human diplomatic ship was sent to the Vorthok border under the false promise of peace talks. The Vorthok Council thought it was a routine negotiation, but only a handful of human officers knew the truth. The ship carried no diplomats. Instead, it carried Commander Rallis and a team of covert operatives. Their mission was simple but deadly. Act weak, act open, make the hidden enemy move. And while the enemy watched them, humanity would be watching right back. When the human ship arrived at the Vorthok capital, the planet looked miserable from orbit. Dust storms choked the atmosphere, and scarred mountains bore the ruins of old wars. The Vorthok greeted the humans with forced smiles, but their eyes were filled with fear. They were clearly expecting an attack, not a peace offering. Their leader, Zither, hissed, "We welcome you, humans. What do you want?" Commander Rallis answered calmly, "We want to talk." But while he talked on the surface, something else was happening underground. Tiny metallic insects, human nanodrones, had already escaped the ship and scattered across the Vorthok city. They crawled down buildings, through tunnels and ventilation shafts, gathering data, sniffing for energy traces, and recording secret transmissions. The Vorthok believed the humans were unprepared, emotional, and angry. They had no idea humanity was watching everything. Down in the tunnels beneath the Vorthok government center, a drone found something unusual. Large crates filled with weapons. They weren't Vorthok made. The metal was sleek and black, with strange glowing lines. The drones moved deeper. They found hidden factories producing small black drones of their own. Massive power cores pulsing with unnatural energy. And strange symbols carved into the walls, triangular shapes, with circles inside. Then, they found a huge, sealed chamber, protected by heavy doors. The drones scanned the doors. Behind them was a massive object. At first, the scanner couldn't read it. It was too large, too dense, too powerful. Then, it finally produced a result. A weapon bigger than anything humans had ever seen. A weapon designed not for battles, but for extinction. A starkiller cannon. A beam weapon capable of destroying entire planets. It pulsed with the same type of energy that melted Edenforce towers. When Commander Rallis saw the live feed, his blood ran cold. "They aren't preparing for war," he whispered. "They're preparing to erase species." One drone tried to record more, but suddenly a shadow cut through the chamber. Something fast, something tall, something that was definitely not Vorthok. A giant figure stepped into the scan range. Its skin was pale and rough like stone. Its eyes glowed with a sick yellow light. Its armor was black, covered in circular patterns. The drone identified the species instantly, then malfunctioned. The last image it sent was a symbol on the creature's chest, the same triangle and circle carved on the walls. Commander Rallis zoomed in, his eyes narrowing. He whispered a word not heard in centuries. Archaea. Legends said they were extinct. A species that once ruled the galaxy through fear, vanishing long before the Council existed. But myths also said they hid themselves in deep space, waiting for the perfect time to rise again. The legends were true. The Archaean were alive, and they had returned. Back in the Vorthok palace, the peace talk continued. Zither spoke in circles, offering weak excuses, and lying about everything. Rallis listened patiently, giving nothing away. "We only want cooperation," he said. "Nothing more." Zither relaxed slightly. "Yeses, cooperation. Very good." But deep below, the Archaean inside the weapon chamber suddenly stopped moving. It tilted its head, sensing something. The scanning, the spying. The creature touched the wall, and instantly, alarms across the tunnel started howling. They found the drones. An operative whispered into Rallis's ear. Rallis acted immediately. He stood up from the negotiation table. "Meeting's over." Zither blinked. But we Rallis stared at him with ice-cold eyes. "You're not the enemy. You're the slaves of one." Zither froze in terror. The humans dashed back to their ship as Vorthok guards scrambled in confusion. They thought the humans were leaving because they were offended. The truth was far worse. Rallis issued the escape command, "Dust off, full speed." The human ship rocketed into the sky. Moments later, the ground shook. A massive black ship of Archean design burst from beneath the surface like a metal beast rising from hell. Its rings glowed with white-hot energy as it aimed at the fleeing humans. "Brace," Rallis yelled. A beam of pure destruction shot toward them, missing by mere meters as their ship jumped into hyperspace. Behind them, the black ship turned its cannon toward the Vorthok city. Rallis watched the screen in disbelief. "They're wiping them out, to hide their tracks." The beam fired. The city vanished in a flash of white light. Millions dead, just to erase one mistake. Back in human space, Rallis's report shocked every commander. The truth was undeniable. The Archean had returned. The Vorthok were slaves, and humanity was walking straight into their trap. But it was too late to turn back. Humanity had seen the weapon, and the Archean knew humanity was coming. The destruction of the Vorthok city confirmed everything. The Archean were not just hiding, they were cleaning their tracks with brutal precision. Anyone who knew the truth was erased. Anyone who might talk was silenced. Humanity had stumbled into the shadows of a species that treated genocide like routine work. And they were not done. After the Vorthok annihilation, human command met in a secured underground chamber on Earth. The whole room felt tense, heavy, like gravity itself had increased. Commander Rallis stood before the holoscreen. Captain Aaron Voss was beside him, silent but alert. They watched the recording of the giant black Archean ship hovering above the burning Vorthok world. The rings around the ship pulsed like a heartbeat. A cold, predatory heartbeat. General Lorne broke the silence. "Why destroy their own servants?" Rallis answered without looking away. "To hide the Starkiller cannon. To erase the path that leads to them." Another officer leaned forward. "So we're dealing with a species that doesn't fear witnesses, they eliminate them." Erin nodded. "They also knew our drones were there, which means they can detect technology we thought was invisible." The room fell into an uneasy quiet. Humanity had faced powerful enemies before. Pirates, empires, council conflicts. But this was something different. This was ancient intelligence combined with modern power. General Lorne folded his arms. "We need to find their main base. They didn't build one Starkiller, they built many." Commander Rallis zoomed the display outward. A map of uncharted star systems appeared. Dark regions the Council never bothered to explore. "These areas are empty on Council maps," Rallis said. "But the Archean are using them as hiding zones." Erin pointed to a strange cluster of red-marked stars. "And here, these systems show unexplained energy spikes. Same signature as the melted metal on Eden 4. A younger officer frowned. "Are you saying they've been hiding there for centuries?" Rallis answered quietly. "Yes, waiting, watching, preparing." Later, Rallis and Erin met privately in the tactical chamber. They studied a single star system highlighted in red, system Thatanantine, a forgotten, cold system with a dead star. No colonies, no life, nothing of value, which made it the perfect hiding spot. Erin tapped the coordinates. "This is where the energy readings are strongest. They're building something there." Rallis stared at the dead star's orbit. Something felt wrong. When we were at the Vorthok tunnels, the Archean soldier wasn't surprised. It knew it was only a matter of time before we found something bigger. Erin understood instantly. "They wanted us to find the Vorthok outpost." "A distraction," Rallis finished. "A trap," Erin added. But Rallis shook his head slowly. "No, something worse. They're guiding us, leading us." "Why would they want us to find their base?" Erin asked. Rallis finally looked up, eyes hard. "Because we are not a threat to them. We are a test." Silence hit the room like a punch. A test, meaning the Archean were measuring humanity's reaction, strength, decisions deciding how dangerous humans might become. Erin exhaled sharply. "And if we prove dangerous," Rallis answered without emotion, "then they erase us. Completely." That night, the human fleet gathered in the darkness of space near Titan. Warships lined in perfect formation, engines silent, lights dimmed. The largest fleet humans had assembled in generations. When the fleet commanders saw Rallis' final briefing, anger spread through the room. "The Archean destroyed Eden 4, Rallis said. They killed the Vorthok to hide it, and they will come for us next. Captain Erin stepped forward. We know where they are now. Thatton 19, a dead star with a living enemy. One captain slammed his fist onto the table. Are we really going to attack alone, without the council? Rallis's reply was simple and cold. The council watched Eden for burn and did nothing. Humanity will not wait for permission. No one argued. When the fleet began its jump toward Thatton 19, sensors picked up something strange. A faint signal, week-old, buried under layers of cosmic noise. Erin played it through the speakers. Static, at first, then a deep, echoing voice. Not Vorthok, not human, Archean. The voice spoke slowly, like something ancient and proud. You have seen our shadow. You have touched our tools. You now walk toward the heart of our design. The room froze. The voice continued. You are brave. You are curious. You are dangerous. The giant ring of fire around Earth burned like a warning crown in the dark. Every alien fleet watched it from a distance, too scared to move closer. No one dared to speak, but every commander felt the same thing in their chest. Humanity was no longer the same. In the center of the Galactic Council chamber, silence held the air like a tight rope. The lights were dim, the screens flickered, and every ambassador looked toward the human speaker's empty seat. Minutes passed. No humans appeared. That alone was terrifying. Humans were never late. Humans always showed up. Humans always answered. But now, nothing. Ambassador Vora, a tall, silver-skinned alien, broke the silence. Her voice trembled, but she tried to sound calm. We cannot let this continue. If humans do not speak to us, the galaxy becomes unstable. They must be planning something. General Rask, a reptile warrior known for his bravery, clicked his sharp teeth. Even his tail was bent low today. They destroyed the pirate fleet in seconds, he whispered. They shut down our war satellites from light years away. They created a shield around their planet. What do you think they are planning? No one answered. A soft alarm beeped through the chamber. Unknown energy reading. Direction. Sol system. The computer announced. Every ambassador froze. Another energy spike. Then another. Ambassador Kilos gulped. Are the humans firing a weapon? No. The computer replied. Humans are opening a channel. A cold shiver moved across the room. The main screen came to life with a single image. A human figure standing in a dark room. Their face was hidden. Only a silhouette visible. Behind them, Earth glowed like a blue gem covered by firelight. For a moment, no one breathed. Then the human spoke, their voice calm and steady. We tried being peaceful. The ambassadors exchanged terrified looks. We tried working with you, the human continued. But every cycle, new threats rose. More weapons pointed at us. More spies. More traps. General Rask whispered to himself. They know everything. The human leaned forward slightly. Even with their face hidden, every alien felt their presence like an approaching storm. Now we will not repeat words. We will not send warnings again. The ambassadors stiffened. You want to know our plan? The human asked. The council chamber fell silent. Not even the machines hummed. You want to know what happens next? Ambassador Vora swallowed hard. Yes, please. The human shook their head slowly. It is simple. They raised one hand. On the screen, the fire around Earth grew brighter. We are done reacting. A pause. We will act first now. Every alien felt a cold wave roll through their body. But we do not want war, the human added. The voice stayed calm, but it was too calm, like a blade resting on someone's neck. We want distance, respect, and silence from your guns. The council trembled. Ambassador Kilos tried to speak, but his voice cracked. What? What happens if we ignore your request? The human didn't move, didn't raise their tone, didn't threaten. They simply said, you will not ignore it. A soft hum started behind them. A glowing shape appeared, some kind of massive machine. It looked like a moon-sized engine. What is that? General Rask asked, sweating. The human answered, a barrier generator. Not to keep things out, but to keep things in. The aliens felt their hearts drop. You are locking the Sol system? Ambassador Vora asked. No, the human said. We are locking you out. Completely. The screen zoomed out. The machine pulsed once, twice, and then a giant wave of white light expanded around Earth, the Moon, Mars, and every human station. The council chamber shook. Lights flickered. Instruments glitched. The computer spoke in a panicked tone. Human space has become inaccessible. All sensors blocked. All scanners disabled, all routes sealed. The human figure stepped back. "We will speak again when we choose, not before." And the screen went black. No signal, no sound, nothing. The entire Galactic Council remained frozen. Some ambassadors fell into their chairs. Some covered their faces. Others whispered prayers in their native languages. General Rask finally spoke, his voice broken. "We have lost access to the most powerful species in the galaxy." Ambassador Vora stared at the dark screen. "No," she whispered. "We have pushed them to become something we cannot control." Outside, across the galaxy, alien fleets stayed frozen, too scared to move, too scared to speak, waiting for orders that never came. And for the first time in history, the humans had vanished by their own choice. But everyone knew one thing: they would return only on their own terms. Fear, a cold, silent fear, was spreading across the galaxy. Every species, from the mighty Cathar to the crystalline Xylons, watched the dark space around Earth, holding their breath. They were all waiting for another message, another sign from the humans. But days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into silence. Human space had gone dark, a silent fortress, impenetrable. No ship could get in, no signal could get out, no scan could pierce the veil. In the hearts of every alien leader, a chilling truth took root. Humanity was doing something behind that barrier, something big, something that would change everything. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, the air was thick with regret. The usual arguments and posturing were gone. All that remained was a shared, heavy worry. Ambassador Vora of the Salaxian Concord stood slowly, her voice barely a whisper. "We pushed them," she said. "We always treated humans like a problem to be managed, not partners to be respected." General Rask, a veteran of 1,000 battles, growled in agreement. "Yes, and now they are preparing something we cannot predict." Just then, an alarm shrieked through the chamber. Massive energy surge detected inside the Sol system. The council froze. A second surge hit, stronger this time. Then a third, 10 times more powerful than the last. Ambassador Kilos whispered the question on everyone's mind. "Are they building a weapon?" The council's computer replied, its voice unnervingly calm, "Unknown. The energy signature is unlike anything in our records." A deep, dreadful silence fell over the room. Suddenly, the main view screen flashed white. A message had broken through the human barrier. Not a transmission, but a signal of pure, focused intent. A single sentence burned in glowing letters across the screen. "We will teach you peace." General Rask's breath caught in his throat. "Teach us." Before anyone could react, space itself seemed to ripple around Earth. A wave expanded outward, stretching billions of kilometers in an instant, lighting up every sensor in the galaxy. Ambassador Vora gripped the table, her knuckles white. "What are they doing?" A new image appeared. Humans, standing in a vast, white hall. A figure, their face hidden, stepped forward. "We learned peace the hard way," the human said, their voice quiet but carrying immense weight. "Through struggle, through loss, through pain." The figure raised a hand, and the ripple continued its impossible journey, now reaching the far edges of the galaxy. "You want peace," the human continued, "but you never wanted to earn it. You wanted us weak. You wanted us afraid." The ambassadors couldn't meet the figure's gaze. Every word was a direct hit. "But fear is not peace. Control is not peace. Threats are not peace." The ripple finally stopped, forming a massive, invisible dome over the entire Milky Way. Ambassador Kilos gasped. A galactic barrier." "No," the human said. "A galactic lesson." They touched a floating control panel, and in that moment, the galaxy fell silent. Every weapon system, from the smallest plasma rifle to the most powerful planetary cannon, powered down. Warships drifted dead in space. Missile silos locked themselves tight. A wave of collective shock and panic washed over 1 trillion souls. Weapons are offline. Shields are down. "We are defenseless." The human's voice cut through the chaos, calm and terrifying. "We disabled your weapons, not to control you, but to free you. Free us." General Rask repeated, stunned. "Yes," the human replied. "You've lived in fear for too long, always building bigger guns and stronger fleets. But fear only breeds more fear. War only leads to more war. So we removed the choice of war. Now, you must talk, you must negotiate, you must solve your problems without violence." Ambassador Vora whispered, You've forced peace on us." "No," the human said softly. "We've forced a chance." What you do with it is up to you. The hall behind the figure brightened, revealing hundreds of human leaders standing in perfect, resolved silence. This galaxy is big enough for all of us, the human declared, but only if the war stops. Only if the fear stops. They lowered their hand. The energy signature of the dome faded, but the weapon lock remained. You will get your weapons back, but not until you all learn the lesson we learned long ago. What lesson? Asked Ambassador Kilos, his voice trembling. The human paused, letting the silence stretch before delivering the final, unforgettable words. Peace is not something you demand. Peace is something you build, together. The screen went black, but the silence that followed was different. It wasn't cold or empty. It felt hopeful. For the first time, the ambassadors truly looked at each other. General Rask stood and extended a hand to Ambassador Vora. We start now, he said. Across the galaxy, enemies opened communication channels. Old rivals lowered their flags. Humanity had given them one last chance, and this time they had to earn it. And behind their silent barrier, the humans watched, waited, and hoped. Not as conquerors, but as the quiet guardians of a new era. The era of real peace. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content like this. See you next time.